Hello and welcome back to the channel where we are building a video game from scratch using Love2d and Lua. Yesterday we got our touch handling work for mobile, but we also got our direction reset for our character here for WASD. So we have an output table that takes in whatever inputs. See, if we hold all four, we have 4 inputs but no outputs. That's because they're all contradicting inputs. So the output table is what I'm calling like the cleansed or sanitized output table. So now we know what direction to output our character depending on the inputs. So it can only handle 2 or less directions at a time and not contradictory inputs. So this next step of refactoring involves giving diagonal motion, giving orthogonal motion, and also applying the motion based on touch as well as the WASD. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Let's see how far we can get. So let's take a look at our input handling is holding all of the table inputs and outputs. And I want to say we left us a note called rehaul inputs, so we can kind of see all of our notes here. So for right now, all we're doing is in the idle state. Now the player inherits a entity state, and every entity starts as idle. So all I'm doing here is saying if any movement is pressed, go ahead and change the state to be walk. But and this is for both the WASD inputs as well as the touch. We probably want to do something similar here, like we can probably do this too, where if the number of our output lists is greater than 0, just like our touch list, then go ahead and change our entity state to be player walk. Now this is in our player idle state. Now the player is the only one that gets the player idle state, so this is okay. I think this will work. Let's make sure we can escape it. Yeah, okay. So we're responding. Now let's take a look at our player walk state. And all we're saying is, hey, if we have an output list, we're going to set our direction to the last variable of that output list. So if we press up second, the string up will become the direction, and we're changing our animation to be idle in then whatever direction. So this probably isn't right. Like if up is pressed, we're not idling up. We're only ever idling whatever direction we are without walking. So this should probably be walk up. So let's see if we can change this to walk, and if we will become walking instead of just facing the direction. That's good. So see, so like it's nice. Oh, look at that. We're not fleshing it, so we're just staying in the walk state for whatever. So this is looking right. And what we can do is we can hit, we can make this bigger here. Okay. Hey, Katron, what's up, dude? Good to see ya. So this looks okay for the walk. Now we have to remember to do it for both the touch inputs or touch outputs as well as the keyboard outputs. And then hey Katron, there was a stream a while back where you were saying something about your buddy dog. Is your dog named Buddy? Is one of your Great Danes named Buddy? Okay, we need to swap back to idle state if there's no output list, right? So we can call this swap to idle or trigger idle. We can say if output list is empty, then go ahead and change animation. We're going to change this to idle. And we're going to change it to idle facing whatever direction we are currently facing. So we can just say self.player.direction is the string we want to face for our idle animation here. And we should stop walking. We should only be walking if we're holding an input. And that's looking right. Okay, we're having that issue, that old issue we used to have, right? So look, I'm going to keep tapping left. Now we always... I'm tapping left consistently, and he's stepping, not stepping, stepping, not stepping. So we need to reset the current animation. Let's see what... We have to dig deep into the output list for... If we look at our entity defs, it's where we declare all of our sprites and which number... where is it? Entity defs here. Okay, so we should have a player walk, character walk. Okay, here. Okay, so we have... This is tricky. Okay, you know what we can do? So basically what happens in this animation class, if we can pull up the animation class, we can see it initializes with an interval, which is a time until it changes, a times played, a current frame. Now the current frame, okay, so I think current frame is what we need to reset, because what isn't being reset here, well, oh, okay, Okay. I'm remembering how we fixed this, right? Like we have this animation refresh that refreshes the current frame and the times played so that we can reset the frame so that we don't get that step stationary. So if we call animation refresh on the current frame upon, switching to idle or switching to walk, we should be able to reset the current frame and the interval, or what is it? The resets the current frame and the timer. The timer is what increments when it's held. So like we're saying, in order to, every frame we increment this timer, and then we reset the timer by the interval. Whenever it passes the interval, we increment our current frame and loop it through. And then we count how many times the played was. So refresh will reset everything in that animation. So I'm thinking if we go to our walk state here. Now, if our output list is 0, I think we want to reset all of the animations, right? Like we want to reset, and maybe we should do this... I don't know how to do this. Let's see if this fixes it for the current animation, because the different animations might remember different timers and different current frames. So I'm going to say that we want to take the animation. So the player animation. See, okay, so we need to see how we're storing the animations into the player. And I think it is, where do we define our player? Is it in our play state? Animations. So our dot player has a dot animations that we should be able to index into given the name, because the dot animations is from our entity defs. So if we look at that real quick, this is the hardest part about code. It's like it gets so complex digging into here. So this is like an animation, for example, and then the animation itself is what has the method refresh. Is it called refresh? Animation, yeah, refresh. Okay. So what we're going to do is come into our entity idle state. And what we're going to do is, part of me thinks we should write a function that just refreshes all the animations to reset them all. But in our player walk state is where we want to do this, where we say animations at index whatever the title is. So our idle, or shit, man. Yeah, we want to do this for every direction, basically, every animation. Let's see if we can change just the direction we were facing. So we're gonna do we're gonna take the direction that our self.player was facing, and instead of changing the animation, we want to take that very animation and run the refresh. And our LSP knew that we can call a refresh function on there. So we're going to say take the current animation of that we were walking at and go ahead and refresh, meaning reset its current frame. So let's see if we can fix that issue here. That looks like it fixed it. So I'm tapping, 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 and he steps every time. So where that doesn't work is if we switch a different direction and then come back to it. It's not guaranteed to not step, I guess. It looks fine. Okay, this is looking okay. So if we tap, 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 he just steps. Okay, so let's take a look. We're flushing that when we let go. So when we let go, we say, hey, go to that very direction we were just going and make sure we refresh it. Okay. So that's working. So let's see. Let's walk through what we were doing here. So first of all, we have this line that says if we're not falling, then we're going to check all of this stuff. So let's find the else for that so that we can see what oh, look at this. Oh, we did it a little bit different here. We refresh it upon input list being 0. And then we change to idle, and then we floor us. Yeah? If we are falling, then trigger falling. But if we are falling and then we hold an input, we would do this change animation to be walking. So our falling would trigger, but then we can cancel the fall and come out of it if we didn't have if not seen view player falling, then do this stuff. So let's add that. And we don't need the scene view here. We have access to our player, so we can say if self.player, if not player falling, then go ahead and do all of this stuff. And then we can continue to chug along. I think my water is stale. Okay. Okay, so it looks like we've got the animation working how we want it to be. So now we just have to move our character's positioning. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Okay, so let's go find where we're actually doing it. And now we do it a little weird. We check if we have two inputs, which this will work because we're doing our cleansing of inputs. So if two inputs are held, we know they're not contradictory inputs. We know it's going to be either, adjacent directions. Because if we look at the output table or the game here, these are what I'm calling adjacent directions, like right and up. If we try to do right and down, that also works, but right and left doesn't work. So it has to be like adjacent directions. So here we're saying, if our input table has, or if our output table has two values, then we know we need to modify our walk speed by square root 2 divided by 2. So that's just the math that we need to negate walking faster using both upwards velocity and sidewards velocity. So let's see how we modify just rightward velocity, for example. We're doing it right here. We're saying player.x gets, now this is a little cryptic, but this is walking left. So if left is held, then we're going to say that our player x gets math.max. Now that is going to be a function that returns the higher of two values. So the first value being a left side, so it can't walk left or off screen. So the other value is the current x position minus the walk speed scaled by delta time. So that's walk left. So let's try to just get left working. So like let's say right here, first we're gonna handle the animation. We can probably switch the output of this, but we're gonna say if there is one value in our output list, we want to do the similar thing. So we're going to say if the number of output lists is equal to 1, meaning there's only one value that we need to move, then if that value, if the output list at index 1, if the only value that's in there is equal to left, then we can use our left logic. So we're going to say if left, oops, shit, there we go, if then. Okay, so if left, then we want our walk left logic, which is right here. So we're going to say our player x gets to be subtracted by walk speed, so moving left, scaled by delta time. Okay, and our player walk speed is defined by our entity def. And then we kind of do... Okay, so for the multiple directions, we scale our constant player walk speed. So I'm hoping that's the same walk speed we initialize it at. I haven't seen that. Let's double check that real quick. If we go to our entity defs, we can see what walk speed. Okay, it is the constant, so that's good. So we're not doing some weird stuff there. So we're saying if there's only one output and then that output is equal to left, then we're going to go ahead and move our player's X position to be in the negative direction, which should be moving us left. So let's see if we can move left now. Nice, nice. So we can only move left if there's nothing there. So like the beauty of the system we did do is we made these collidable map objects, so no matter where we draw collidable things, we can't walk through them. So we already got a lot of the work done for us. So we can do some else logic here, and we can see, okay, well, what if our direction is right? Then how would we modify our player's X position? And our old logic was right here. And we'll see what the two values are that we give our math.min function. Let's see. So math.min will take the smaller of two variables, and the first argument is how we want to update the player X. So we're going to be positively modifying by our walk speed scaled by our delta time. That'll move us to the right. But then the limit, this is gross. We're saying the virtual width, that doesn't sound right to me. Virtual width minus a player width plus a side edge buffer player. Now I think this should be, oh, I guess this is right. Virtual width, not window width. Let's see. Okay, okay. Well, it looks like it's working. We just need to be able to walk the other directions. So let's do our other ones. Else if output list, the only value in there is equal to this stuff, then we're gonna modify else if the only value in our output list is equal to down, then we're gonna walk down. Okay, so let's get our other logic. So there's left, right, here is up. So there's up. And we'll walk through this. Let me just paste them here and then we'll see what they do. And down, here it is. Okay. So let's walk through what up is. We're going to modify our Y, our player's Y position. Now in Love2d, the bigger the Y, the lower it is on the screen. The smaller the Y, the higher it is, 0 being the very top. So when we're saying that for up position, we're making a number smaller and smaller and smaller, meaning if we clamp at a dot max, if the value is a negative number and the math.max has a 0 in there, it'll clamp it to 0. So we're saying math.max, the biggest number, 0, clamp it to the top of the screen so we can't walk off screen. So we're saying subtract the walk speed, so we go up and up and up, and then instead of 0, we're saying this side edge buffer player, which is like I think it's like 3 pixels or something, and we're saying a negative 3 pixels. So if we go 3 pixels off screen, we're preventing us from going any further off screen. And then the Y is a math.min, so the smaller of two values, and we're doing a positive walk speed scaled by delta time. And then we're taking the screen height limit, which is the bottom of the screen, not the bottom of our virtual resolution, but we minus the HUD size. That's the screen height limit, plus that bottom buffer of 3 pixels or so. But we also shift it by the player height so that since Love2d draws from the top left, we have to account for the whole height of the character so we can track right when he's about to go off screen. So let's try this. Look at that, we've got moving back in our game. So right now, if I hold 2 directions, he'll walk, but he'll walk as in the animation walk, but he doesn't actually walk diagonally. So this is okay. Oh man, we don't have the scene transition triggering here. And that's because, and we'll get back to that. I don't know if I like how we pulled that off, but let's get our diagonals working and then we'll worry about the scene triggers. So what I currently have for the scene triggers is you have to be, your Y has to be at this threshold of triggering the scene transition. So our Y is right at the threshold of triggering a down scene transition here. But what the game's looking for is an input from the right control, the arrow keys. So I think I turned it off, so I can't trigger it with the arrow keys. But we'll go into our scene trigger, our scene transition trigger, and make sure we can fix that. So I don't know how we should go about the 2-direction input. Let's kind of look at how we were doing that. We literally just count if the input list is 2, we modify our walk speed. Okay. Is it that simple? Like we're saying, just change the walk speed if our input list is 2. Otherwise, normal walk speed. So it's, yeah, okay. So since our inputs are handling what direction our walk speed is being, or what direction our X and Y are being modified by, all we have to do is speed us up or down depending on, well, no, we did this a little different. Because here, we have this, if input list is 3, we do that. Otherwise, modify by, because yeah, our walk speed is a positive number even when two inputs are being held. So we can't just say if input list is 2, scale the walk speed. That won't get us walking, because we're walking because 2 inputs are being held, left and right are being held, and then, okay, and then this is the if 3 directions are being held, which we're not doing that. So outside of the 3-direction input, wow, there must be one other spot we're kind of doing something to this. This looks like our player.lua. Okay, what do we have here? Okay, this is our input handling. Yeah, okay. Okay, we are already doing this, so this won't help us much. Okay, here, this is those triggers here I was talking about. We need to turn these on again so that we get the dispatch going, and we'll have to add it for both touch and keyboard. So we'll have to do that, but for right now, I'm trying to think of how we're going to modify our X position, our X and Y position on an output list of 2. So I think what we need to do is first let me think this through. Because if left is held, we do want to subtract walk speed from our X. And if our output list is, yeah, more than 1, we want to also still subtract from our walk speed because we're going to be walking left. So instead of hard coding this at 1, I'm thinking maybe we say if output list is greater than 0, then check both of the output lists and apply the appropriate walk speed once we scale it if the output list is 2. Okay. Okay, let's try something like that where we say we know we need to scale our walk speed by root 2 if there's 2 inputs. So what we're going to do is say if the output list is equal to 2, we're going to modify our walk speed. If our output list is not 2, then we're going to have a normal walk speed. And then instead of hard coding in 1 here, I think I want to cycle through all the output lists for output in directions in it. We got to do this for output, comma, directions in I pairs output list. So however many outputs are in our output list, we want to do something, and the something we want to do is if the direction, output, this is weird. Let's just do key value, keep it simple. Key value in I pairs, we're going to say if the value is equal to left, then we're going to apply the leftwards velocity. And we already scaled it, right? We already scaled it's okay, we can put this in a else if block because every output in the list will be one of these values. So we can say else if right, else if down, and else if up. And then what this allows us to do is to apply 2 different types of velocities. So like a leftwards and an upwards, because we're cycling through both of the outputs. So we only want to do this. Yeah, I think we only want to do this for as long as output list is more than 0. So we can do that. But let's plop in right and down and up. There we go. Because if output list is empty, this might crash. Well, I don't know. Let's see if it just runs. So first thing we're doing is saying, hey, if our output list is 2, we need to scale our walk speed by root 2 so we don't walk too fast. And then we need to cycle through our output list, and depending on what the value is, we modify our player by the walk speed, which is either full walk speed or root 2 modified walk speed. Let's see. Oh my god. It's working! It's working! And you know what? It looks like it fixed that weird ass shit we were getting, where he would look like he was shifting Y position weirdly. He does look, I don't know, he looks like he's walking a little too fast. But it's the same old song and dance. This is great. So one thing we have to remember to do is to make this work on touch, because this is just working on inputs. Now we did lose a little bit of functionality. It's very slight, but if we were to hold down and right, he moves and faces to the right. If we move right and down, he faces down. Oh, you know what? That's actually not what I thought would happen. Left and up, up. Up and left, left. Okay, that's how I want it. I just don't... I guess we just accidentally did it good. Okay, so I guess the difference is if we hold... Okay. So this is working great for WASD, but when we go to the joystick, we won't have that fine-tooth control of which direction he's facing. If he's going diagonal and up in either direction, we'll always see the back of his head, as opposed to on WASD, we can see his profile depending on what the second input was being held. So this is great because we don't have to sacrifice the little bit of directions we had for the WASD version, because that looks natural to me, like you can kind of walk diagonally like that. It's going to be a little different on the joystick. So we can either try to get the transitions back or try to modify for joystick. Let's try to get the transitions back first. So the transitions are in rehaul. They're in this scene, I believe. Maybe not. Let's check out the player class. It should have the event triggers right here. So let's take our transition event triggers. Okay. Okay, we'll take it out of the comment there. So what this is saying, okay, if our scene isn't currently being triggered and we are not falling and our player is not in the graveyard anymore, then we're going to be checking for inputs, and if the input is right and our X position is bigger than this threshold, then go ahead and event dispatch. So if we do this, we have to change this for WASD. So we should probably do something similar where we would say, we can probably say if the number of output list is greater than 0, meaning don't bother checking for input if there's no output. That's a little weird, but yeah, output is the sanitized input, so we're going to say only if there is a value that could be triggering one of these things, then we're going to say if the output list, actually, yeah, we'd have to cycle through all, so we'd say for key value in I pairs of our output list, we would say if the value is equal to left, which is A, then we would dispatch. Well, actually, yeah, then we would check the positioning threshold to trigger an event dispatch and trigger right if our X position is greater than that right side threshold. Go ahead and dispatch that. Then we can say else if V is equal to, what's the next one? We have left transition, so that would be A. If A is held down, then check for that threshold, which is right here, and if so, dispatch a left transition. And then else if, I think that's supposed to be one word, I don't know. Else if up, which is W, then we would want to, else if the value is equal to W, then check the upwards threshold and trigger the event dispatch for a scene transition if we're past that threshold. So if we're higher than this buffer player variable, and then else if V is equal to S, then we want to do our downwards dispatch, which would be right here. Okay. Okay, let's see if we can trigger dispatches now. So we got WASD working. We don't quite have it. Oh, it's because, okay, the input A is holding the right direction, but the table value is actually the direction, not the key that's being pressed for it. So we do have to give the right values here, and then we should be able to trigger them. Let's see. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Sweet, sweet, sweet. That's looking right. Okay, and then I do want to switch our font back to classic font for the signs. Let's just do that real quick before we forget. Where is our signpost? Here. So before we render, where do we do it? Right here. Let's just set our font graphics, set font equal to, I want to say it's classic font. Let's see if that gets us back. So we're going to walk here. Nice. Flower garden. Okay, we got scene transitions back, which is great. WASD is now controlling our character instead of left and right. Ooh, we are able to trigger falls still, and that looks to be right. So it looks like we haven't messed up any functionality. But now we need to add touch, our touch for our Game Boy UI to do this movement as well. Now it's a little different because the Game Boy doesn't have, well, it does have where you can hold like up and right at the same time, but it also has a diagonal up and right that only one button triggers. But since we handled it in the output table for our touch output list, I think we're going to be able to use it pretty easily. So let's see if we can comment some of our logic. So we need to add touch here. We need to add touch to our transition event triggers, but also add player movement based on the touch movement. So if we go back to our rehaul, we should be able to find where we did this. Not in the idle state. Idle state should be fine, but if we go rehaul in walk state and start there, we should be good to go. So here is all of our input list. So we need to basically do the same thing. See, like this is the corresponding code to do it for handling touch controls as well. So we basically just need to do this same exact thing, but based on the touch output list instead of the normal output list, because we're already handling the touch output tables. So we're just going to cycle through and copy each one of these. We just do it also for the touch output list as well. And then ideally, we could go and put these into a function so that we can just call the function twice and give it both the output list and the touch output list. We definitely could do that. But then, like the more spread out the code gets, the harder it gets to kind of touch it. So I think it's nice to see them right here. So we're saying, okay, well, if there's no touch outputs, we're going to refresh our walk animation, change our animation to be our idle. And then let's see, do we do any other new stuff here? Doesn't look like it. So that looks like it for the walk state. I feel like we're missing some stuff, but maybe not. This is the idle state. Yeah, we're doing it for both touch and output. Okay, and then let's see. I feel like there's one more spot. Our event triggers for sure, but I feel like there's like one more spot too. Let's see. Rehaul. There's a scene. Let's see. Yeah, this is just we're gonna be able to clear out a lot of this logic, at least for the scene, because that can all be cleansed and all this can be cleansed too. Okay. Okay, so let's go to the last spot we know of, which is in our... Where was it? It's the transition, the event trigger transition. This is in our player class. Okay. Okay, so we need to do the same thing here for our touch output list. So we're saying if our touch output list is greater than 0, cycle through the touch output list and do the transitions based on the values in our touch output list. Now, we did this smartly because if we hold a diagonal to the right on the touch, not an up and right, but like the diagonal upright on touch device, we input two directions, both up and to the right. So we should be able to modify both our X and Y position as well as the event dispatch by those values, because we did that with this method in mind. So I think we're okay to test it. So the thing we want to do before we deploy to the mobile device is a couple things. We need to set the scale factor to be 2 or less. I think it's currently 2. I think we're good there, but then we need to full screen it for the iPhone deployment too. So let's go to our constants and we will see that our scale factor is set to 3. Okay, so we do need to set it to 2. We'll set it to 2, and then we'll full screen it by going into our main right here. Okay, right here. Now, you might not be able to see it. Oh, I guess you can. Okay. Uh-oh. This is wrong again. Look at us. Look at us all wrong. We're just floating. Shit. We were right there. Okay, okay, I think I know what we have to do. We only want to do this stuff like we're doing this. We only want to change our state if our touch inputs have a value in them, rather than just willy-nilly. So we can go to our player walk state. Now, if it's 0, oh, see, look at that's okay. So for this is wrong. So we have to say if basically we want to say if all of our inputs are empty, then we would want to flush it, because what was happening was our touch output list was equal to 0 because there was no touches detected, so therefore we were changing to idle state. So we were walking while in idle state, essentially. So we need to also check the output list, and if that is also equal to 0, then we would change to idle. That should fix it. Let's see. Nice. Looks like it fixed it. Sweet. I might want to change the direction and animation of our player depending on... Because, like, one thing I don't quite like is being able to walk... See how we walked to the right while facing down? I don't know if I like that. I kind of want to, like, force our player to turn in the direction that we're transitioning. I wonder how difficult that would be. We would just, before we trigger the event, we would just change our animation and idle direction. Oh, yeah, just the... let's try. Let's try to go to our event trigger, which is in our player class. And we will say, okay, if we're about to dispatch this transition event, we're going to go into our walk animation and refresh with the current direction. I think we would also have to just say self.direction gets updated to be right. So let's try this. Let's see. I don't know if I'm going to like this, but let's see. So this would be left. So we're basically saying, okay, if we're about to trigger that transition, we're going to change our direction so that we can set our animation to be equal to that direction and refresh it before we dispatch the event. And as soon as we dispatch the event, we no longer update our player because we're in a scene transition, so we don't update the player. So let's see if that might work. We have left and right for now, so let's see if... let's see. Oh, okay. Self. This is in the player class, right? Player self. We don't have a dot direction. What the heck? Uh-oh. We don't have a direction. Let's just say... Wait, no, we should... What the heck? Why would we not have... Player is a nil value. 200 at player. Oh, self player, it's just player. Or just self. Okay. Just self. What threw me off is we don't declare the direction in the player class, it's in the entity class, so that's what was throwing me off. But let's see, we should be able to see, look, it didn't change. Okay, let's try it for the other directions and see if it works. I'm not being able to check it here yet. So we're going to change our direction to up. Then we're going to update. Okay, and then we're going to change our direction to down and then update the animation before we trigger the dispatch. Let's see. I don't want to be able to walk left and be facing up. So let's see. It still does it. Uh-oh. Shit, man. It looks like our diagonal inputs are faster too. Like, look at how fast that looks. Shit, man. Oh, that's okay. No, that's different. Why is our diagonals going faster again? Let's print up our walk speed and see if anything is unusual here. Yeah, still can we... So the thing is, we're, good to see you again, by the way. We are handling the, we change our velocity based on the amount of inputs we've got, so... in our... Where is it? Really? It's in the walk state right here. We're saying... Oh, and you know what? It must be this. Well, no. We're setting... Right here. We're saying we modify our walk speed by square root of 2 divided by 2 multiplied by our constant walk speed. So our walk speed should be slower if we have 2 outputs. Let's print up our walk speed and see if that is correct or incorrect. Oh, only in our walk state. Okay. I can't see shit, man. Okay, we literally just... Where is our touch list being rendered? Right here. Okay, let's just put... Wow. Okay. Print. We're gonna try to print up... First of all, I just want to make sure I can see the thing I'm trying to do. So as long as we can see test, we'll put in the direction. Okay. Okay, so we want to put the walk speed here. We'll take it from the scene view and make sure our player dot walk speed is being treated appropriately. Okay, yeah. Our walk speed is looking correct. Yeah, it just looks faster, huh? Our walk speed should be cut. Our walk speed should be cut here. It shouldn't be a constant 60. So something is throwing off the walk speed being cut, and I think it's part of the touch handling. Walk state. Okay, if we get rid of this for now, for the walk speed. Okay, let's try to get rid of this and see if that fixes the issue. There we go. Okay. So yeah, we do cut it. We do cut it. So it's just right here. Oh, it's the else. Okay, it's the else that catches it. Okay. So we want to make sure... We'd want to make sure that the other input is also empty before we modify this. Or... Yeah, I think we want to make sure... Actually... I guess what we can do is reset our player walk speed and then only set it to the square root if we have the diagonal inputs here. So we're going to say, okay, we default to normal constant walk speed, but if there's two values in our output list, then we know we need to scale it, and if there's two values in our touch output list, we know we need to scale it. That should fix it. Okay, cool. Okay, so I think the only thing that's left is to test on the touch device and make sure that our touch input is moving us. That would be huge if that works. So we changed our scale. I want to change our touch list rendering. Where did we do that? Let's take out all this render for the moment so that we can just see our game. We got full screen. We've got the scale. We should have the correct scale factor of 2 for a mobile deployment, so that should be right. So let's go ahead and commit this, and we'll say added player movement for WASD testing touch movement. Okay, and then we will get push it, and then we'll swap over to the other computer here so we can try to test it on the phone. So let's go here. We will... I've got to plug in the other computer here, and we can test it. Okay. We're going to pull our changes. Added player movement, testing touch movement, so we're up to date. So let's go ahead and zip our game as a mobile.love. We've got it right here. Then we just need to place it on our phone here. Sweet. Let's try it. Let's try it. Uh-oh. We might have to rebuild an Xcode real quick. I don't know why it does that sometimes and sometimes not other times. Okay, let's try it. So we got the .love. We just need to make an Xcode build so that we can test it on the iPhone. We could upload it to the web and test it that way. That might be faster than this at this point. Actually, I know it'd be faster than this. Let's try it. Let's deploy to the web. All we have to do is run build. I'm gonna actually remove a mobile.love from here, and then we'll run build, and our game files are ready for deployment. Because we wrote a little bash script for us to handle this. So let's pull up our Tashio.dev. Now, the 5 files we need are this, 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 and this. And if we upload this to our server, as long as we don't get whammies, let's go, let's go. Success, let's try it. Okay, let's see here. I will share screen. Okay. 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 Look at that. Why is it all not centered? Oh, it's because we freaking full screened it. We freaking... Okay, we are supposed to full screen it for the iOS deployment, but not for the web deployment. So what we're going to do is undo that real quick. We're going to go unfull screen it. Okay, and then... I love how easy it is, though, because all we have to do is run build and then upload the files, and then it's live on the site. So that's just so cool. Bum, bum. Upload. Did it work? Uploaded. Okay. Should be in the center. There we go. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh my... Okay. I'm sold. This is awesome. Oh, this is great. This is really cool. So if we just hold diagonal, we go diagonal. Now see, look, this type of movement is impossible on the WASD version. You can't walk diagonally alternating without changing the direction. But I think that's okay, because if you walk in a circle like this looks natural. It's just that, you know, if you walk only down, he doesn't face left and right. Or if you walk only up, he doesn't face left and right, but I think that's okay. Oh, this is amazing. Okay, so if we can get the spell casting to work with A and B, then we're like super in business to at least test this mobile version. This is really cool. I'm totally sold on this. Okay, so yeah, it'd be nice if A would trigger our spell casting and B potentially reading signs, or maybe B is our spell casting, A is read signs, I don't know. Let's see if we can get that done, because it would be really cool if we can kill these geckos, cleanse these geckos on the mobile deployment. This is so cool. This is amazing. And then, of course, yeah, we drew the level wrong, so we still get some of those bugs. That is okay, though. This is awesome. This is awesome. Wow. Oops. Okay. Let's see if we can get spellcasting set with an A and B, or just a B deployment, I guess. So let's see. How are we doing the spellcast at the moment? It's spacebar, right? So if we search for spacebar. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Oh, it's not as easy. It's not as easy as I was hoping because it's got a couple of different... Well, there's not much. Okay, if space is down, we're gonna do our focus indicator stuff. And if space is down, we're also gonna drain our Manus magic, and then... Okay. So right now, this in our play state, we're checking for this input, but we could be checking our button table for any value equal to A. We're not doing that exactly. Let's take a look at our touch detection. No, our touch handling. So we have buttons, right? But we don't have the values that they're supposed to be. So what we can do is add, after the color, we can add the value that they are. So like we add in A, we add in B, and then select and start. And if we take a look, we'll take a look at what the parameter here is called. I think it's called direction, which doesn't make a lot of sense for this, but if we go check out our touch detection, it's direction. Yeah, self.direction is the first optional parameter. So what we can do is in our play state, yep, so anytime space is down, we can say if space is down, see, and this is a little tough. I'm going to do it a nasty way, and then we'll see if we can refactor it. So like what we really want to do is say for key value in I pairs of our global buttons table, it should be global buttons. Then we want to see if the value is equal to whatever button we want to trigger spells. So I'm going to say B. If the value, it's the value dot direction, because it's that parameter dot direction equal to B, then we're going to do the same thing we do over here. No, this is wrong because the else is going to screw this up. Okay, well, we can put this in an else if the number of buttons does not equal 0. I don't know if that's right. Oh god, okay, we're gonna get screwed here. It's not as simple as I was thinking. Okay, so for right now, before I get too deep into this, we'll leave this as a to-do, because ideally we do the same thing that we did with our other stuff, where we say, okay, if our button output list includes, if our button output list includes space, we want to do the spellcasting, or if our touch output list includes space, we want to do the same stuff. We're just gonna have to think that through, but for right now, we'll leave it here. We're in a great spot. We got moving around. We just need to add the spellcasting and the sign interaction, which won't be that bad. I'm just running out of steam, and I am gonna go make some dinner. So we left our commit here at, let's see, get log. We left it at added player movement. So I'm gonna say Yeah, I'm gonna say we leave it here. I won't do another commit. We'll just leave it here. But if you want to go to tashio.dev, you can walk around at least. We can't spellcast just yet, but we can walk around, which is great. So it feels great to have that working. And tomorrow I'll be back and we'll try to get spellcasting working. And then once we have spellcasting working, I don't think we'll rehaul the loot system just yet, or touch, because it's going to be a lot of work. But what we will do is probably mock up the inventory system so that we can apply and hold the orb for spellcasting as well as hold the loot so that we can trigger the loot state properly rather than just tapping L, because right now there's no way to trigger loot state on mobile. So we'll be adding that soon. And then also I just interviewed a fellow developer on the channel. I recorded it. I'm going to be editing it this week. And then I'll give everyone some heads up for when I plan on streaming it. I'll edit it and then stream the pre-recorded video to the channel as well as put it up on YouTube. So that'll be coming up in the next week or two, as long as I can find the time during my work week to edit it while I'm still streaming. So that's on the docket coming up. But thanks for watching, everyone. I will raid out here to somebody. Yo, I'll see you later, K-Tron. Thanks for hanging. Yeah, peace out, dude. We will raid out to, I don't know. Let's go to Small Block Boy. He's making a cool little game. All right. Oops. I spelled it wrong. Okay, sweet. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.